Welcome to 15 Minutes with Rocky, Common Sense Guide to a Possible Better Life. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite topic, which is time management. I love time management conversations. I think that they're very productive when you understand certain distinctions. Let's start off with my day. How do I start off? First and foremost, I'll do, let's say, a to-do list. And here, the to-do list starts with the date, December, blah, 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 and then a list of the things that I have to do. Okay, sometimes I do this the night before, or during the day I'm writing certain things. Now here I wrote, let's say, 20 things, right? 20 things right here, and can't really focus, but see, yeah, 20 things. Some of them I just made up. Now this one right here, it's in yellow. That means it's more of an emergency than the others. So what we want to talk about is managing the priorities. Not all of them, as they're not all important. Some will be more important than the others. So for instance, if you have to pay your rent, your mortgage, or whatever the case is, that's very important. Then I have on this side, I'll have something like buy. So I separate that because of the fact that if I do go out, I want to make sure that I have what I'm going to buy that day already at hand. Now I also have, let's say this one says Ashley, and let's say that Ashley is one of my main employees, so I want to have just something that I want to communicate to her. And then below Ashley is Julian, and actually these are my kids. So Julian may be my second employee. So let's say Ashley is the manager, Julian is one of the main guys as well, but he's under Ashley. So I'll have a category for him, and then I write down. So I've been reading these two books. One is The One Thing by Gary Keller, and the other one is the 2080 Principle. And basically I'm going to just entwine these books and show you how these have helped me tremendously in regards to having more time during my day, and how I have implemented these distinctions into my business, and I created more time, and actually I've increased my the amount of profit that I am seeing. Okay, so that's a work in progress. This particular video may spill over to a series of videos, but at least let me get this out of the way. So this is the first one. So the first thing is making a to-do list. Now many people say, well, I don't like to plan things out, it's a waste of time. Now I used to think that way, so I read this book by Brian Tracy. I heard one of his talks on YouTube where he said that one minute that you invest in planning will save you 10 minutes, all right, or 9 minutes. So for one, you get 10, and if you know anything about leverage, that's pretty good. If you invested $1 and you got $9 back, that's pretty good ROI. The margin there is amazing. Being a business person, that's my language right there. So that got me thinking, and I started to, I saw that there is a valid reason for me to invest 1 minute to get 9 minutes back or 10 minutes back. So I do that. We're going to talk about delegating later on, which that creates that same idea and makes it exponentially more powerful, and we're going to get to that hopefully in this video. So what the 2080 book by Richard Koch, I don't know if he's part of the Koch brothers in Lexington Avenue, New York City, but this is an amazing book. I thought I was gonna be able to read it like in 5-7 days, which is what I take to read a book. But I'm up to like my 15th day because this is a book I am applying. I'm reading it, applying it, reading it, applying it, and I'm definitely not gonna go fast on this. I'm going slow and steady, like the hair in the hair and the like the turtle with the hair. So I'm going like a turtle, slow and steady, right? So what the 80-20 rule says, Richard Koch says that out of the 20 things I have here, only 20% are really, really that important. Okay, so you need to focus and find out what are the 20 that are really, really powerful. Now, so paying my mortgage, it's very important, so I'm going to do that. Okay, there may be certain things that are an emergency. Okay, And Stephen Covey spoke about stuff like that in his great book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And if you read the book, you remember he has 4 quadrants. As a matter of fact, I have something here. So he broke it up into 4 quadrants. Not that I'm thinking that you're going to be able to read this. So just for visual reasons, right? So right here, it's like the urgent and important. And then the second quadrant is the urgent but not important. The third quadrant, which he says this is where successful people focus on, is the important and non-urgent. And then there's the non-urgent and non-important. And basically, the urgent and important is pretty simple. It's urgent, you got to do it. And there's certain importance to it. So it's the last day to process a customer's credit card. It's important to get the credit card process, and it's the last day, so there's an urgency there. Where there is the urgent but not important are your emergencies. You forgot and you procrastinated so much such that quadrant 2, which is the emergency, they may not be important, but they are urgent in that you got to do them, right? So you didn't pay that bill, that parking, you didn't pay the meter, whatever, you got a bill, a ticket, and you haven't paid it. So now it's due. So it's not important because it doesn't produce anything, but it's urgent. And then the important, not urgent, is things like doing your taxes early. There's no urgency to it, but it's so important to do so. Or certain projects that you want to go ahead and get done early so that you can get that handled. And then there's the urgent, not important. That's if somebody says, can you please come over? I want to show you 2 sweaters. I want you to select which one looks better on me. It's not important. It's not urgent. And just focusing on the third, right? So again, it's just that management of priorities. Not everything is equally as valuable. So you want to be able to understand that you want to get the 20% that's very important, either because it's urgent or because it's urgent and important, okay? Or non-urgent and important, okay? Which is the third quadrant. Now, after you find your 20%, okay? Your 20%, okay? Your 20%. Then there's a different distinction, which is, this comes from this book, The One Thing, by Gary Keller. Now, Keller Williams is a big real estate conglomerate. I would imagine it's huge, right? At least here in New York City. And Gary Keller wrote a wonderful book. I really highly recommend it. And basically what he says is, out of that 20%, what is the one thing? And I wrote it here. He likes to say, what is the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And that is very, very enticing and powerful. Because if you really focus on one thing that you can do that actually has a tremendous impact such that the rest of the things becomes easier to do, or even better yet, unnecessary. You don't have to do them. It opens up tremendous amount of time. Now, before you even get to that, if you just focus on the 20%, it's going to open tremendous amount of time. So if you're one of the people like I used to be, I don't have time. Now you have access to this distinction that gives you this tremendous amount of time. A lot. Because of the fact that you're just being focused on what really matters and letting the, I believe it's Coke that says there's the vital few and the trivial many. So you're not focused on the trivial many, you're just focused on the vital few. And going back to the one thing, if you can reduce it to one thing, what would that one thing be? And in my business, there were a lot of things that I had to do. So I had 100 things to do, which I subcategorized them into different files on my computer. Now, obviously, all of these things, there may be an app that you like to use, and you can do this. I like paper because visible is memorable. And if there's something that's staring at me, like, on my desk, I can see it. But if it's on my phone, then I'm not really focusing on it. It's not there. That's me. But do what obviously works for you, and if you do Evernote or other apps that help you, then great, awesome. The bottom line is that you are applying a method that's effective, that's giving you some that's leveraging your time, and you're prioritizing what's important, such that you do end up more productive and more efficient, and have a heck of a lot more time, especially in the kind of environment that we live, especially in the city, where time is of the essence. Okay, so going back, so if I really focus, okay, if I really focus on what's important. Now, a lot of you were just maybe like me that says, man, but that's a lot of time consumption in and of itself, the planning of it. You see what I'm saying? So how long am I going to invest? I mean, if I get up and I'm doing 1 hour of planning, that's 1 hour that I can be doing stuff. And obviously the A-type personality, the action-oriented personalities, as soon as you are writing a couple of things, you may say, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to write this. I'm just going to do it. And there are certain philosophies out there, school of thoughts, that say, yeah, stop writing it, get to it. If you get to it, you don't have to write it. I understand that. That's sort of like, the people that are action oriented, and I was like that, but that's more like the hare and not the tortoise. You see, it's almost like you get into doing a lot of stuff. But what this book is saying, these two books are saying, is that just because it needs to get done, just because it's going on your to-do list, doesn't mean it has to be done right now. So therefore, why should I just run and get that done if it's going to be part of my 20%? See, my mindset, if I was going to have 20 things on my to-do list, I thought that I needed to do all of them at that time. So I was like, oh my goodness, I have so many things to do. Let me get to it right now. Let me not write it. So slow it down a little bit. If that's the way, yeah, I'm going to feel like I have to do it right there and then, so I don't have any time. But if I don't have to do the 20 things or the 100 things on my to-do list, if it can be just reduced to just a few things and possibly one thing, then I do have a lot of time. Because remember, if you do the right thing, the big frog, okay, that one thing, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier and not unnecessary. I'm reading it because I wrote it down and I have it right in front of me, Okay, so I can remember. Again, visible is memorable, out of sight, out of mind. That's why I don't like to write things on my phone, because I don't, it's not right in front of me. But going back, if I don't have to do everything, then I can take my time and invest. As a business person, I love to invest. So I want to invest my time in planning. And then I also want to tell you about delegating. Because if I'm investing another minute or 30 minutes in delegating, then if I get 10 minutes for every 1 minute, if I'm going to write a delegation, like I'm delegating to someone else, for 1 minute, I would imagine I'm getting 20. Okay, and that may be one of the big things that I have to do, is maybe sit down with my one of my members and just communicate a list of things that they need to do, like what I want to delegate to them. And all of a sudden you get this enormous amount of time, because of the fact that you're not trying to handle 1,000 things, you're only handling 20%. And from that 20%, you find which is the biggest of those 20%. And let me tell you, now you focus all your energy there. And you do it early. Okay, you do it early. Now, as we wrap it up, in this 15 minutes with Rocky, I want to tell you, go ahead and if you want to, pick up these two books, the 80-20 rule, and also the one thing. Listen, I'm not an investor or anything like that. I don't have any stocks in any of these companies or anything, but I really feel that they really helped me tremendously. And if you start to apply it, start to apply that 20% rule. And we're going to go over the 20% rules in other areas in your life, because I've been applying the 20% rule in regards to my business, and I've been focusing on the 20% customers that are bringing in 80% of the money, or just focusing on 20% of my friends that are actually, people that we can get stuff done. But as I wrap it up, thank you for watching. Remember, this is Common Sense Guide to a Possible Better Life. Thank you for watching 15 Minutes with Rocky.